In this video, we are going to talk about my top 12 favorite nootropics coming up. Okay, preliminary stuff out of the way. We are running a special on the Cortex stack, which by the way is being called the only pre-made stack that works. If you're new to nootropics and you're thinking about, should I get a pre-made stack to sort of test the waters, get the Cortex stack, get it at livecortex.com. I'll save you some money by entering the coupon code 5. You'll have powerful brain performance delivered to your doorstep if you're in America in 1 to 3 days. If you're elsewhere in the world, 1 to 8 days. It ships USPS. We combine uridine monophosphate, CDP choline, artichoke extract, and Bacopa monnieri for what's being called the only pre-made stack that works. A very powerful, motivating, verbal fluency inducing stack used by Wall Street day traders, corporate people, entrepreneurs, Marine Corps soldiers, Army soldiers, everybody else in between. Very powerful stack. Get it at livecortex.com. Save $5 by entering the coupon code 5. Smarter, better, faster. Same special applies. Enter the coupon code 5. Get it for $5 off. Normally $24. You can get it for $19 using the coupon code. Look, this is the book that distills everything. 10 years, almost 10 years of nootropics experimentation, usage of everything under the sun, right? Stacks, endless amounts of stacks that you can take and 30 minutes later, brain turns on for 5 hours. It's basically incredible. It answers most people's questions about everything they can think of relating to nootropics, how to take them, where to get them, what stacks to take for what things, how to take NuPep nasal spray. We've got COLURACETAM, sublingual COLURACETAM, and THEACRINE strategies. You've got nasal NuPep strategies, dose protocols, everything else in between. MODAFINIL, THEANINE, MODAFINIL, caffeine, THEANINE, microdosing MODAFINIL, microdosing ANRACETAM strategies in the book. Get it at livecortex.com. Read it on a Kindle, iPad, iPhone, whatever you want. Coupon code 5. Okay, my top 12 nootropics. And just to give a little bit of background for those of you that might be new to the channel, or this is the first time you're seeing me, hi, Ryan Michael Bell here. I'm an entrepreneur, combat veteran, nootropics enthusiast. Been taking them for about 10 years, just about 9 years, but almost a decade. I mean, right, we're on the latter part of that time frame. And basically, the way that I look at nootropics is two ways. The mechanism-based understanding of them, right? So I want to understand how they're affecting receptor sites, blood flow, particular neurochemicals, etc. And I want to understand the efficacy of them in that regard, but then paired with my anecdotal experience. So the suggestions and the recommendations that I give people are based on my very rigorous approach of trying to understand what works mechanistically, and then what works anecdotally. I combine the two, and that's how I formulate my understanding of stuff. The stuff I've taken for nearly a decade. That said, this is my top 12 favorite nootropics list. It used to be a top 10, but then I brought in for further experimentation THEACRINE and COLURACETAM, and now I have got to add them to the list. I can't remove any of the other stuff because all of it is so awesome. Number 1, oxiracetam. That's number 1 on my top 12. Oxiracetam is an AMPA receptor acetylcholine modulating racetam nootropic, resuscitates the brain from a sleep deficit, improves verbal fluency, focus, mental energy. Very powerful racetam. My sweet spot is about 1,000 milligrams. Sometimes I microdose it in a couple hundred milligrams every hour or two until I reach about 700 milligrams. OXR, that's my number 1. Number 2 is the other powerful racetam, ANRACETAM. Memory IO improving, which means you can pull things in and out of your memory better with ANRACETAM, improves creativity for a lot of people. AMPA receptor modulator, acetylcholine functionality and signaling, improving nootropic. Very powerful for working memory and mental stimulation. Stacks well with caffeine. My dose range is about 700 to 1,000 milligrams, normally 700, and I'll microdose 100 to 150 milligrams every couple hours to reach 500 milligrams. That's my dose strategy. But ANRACETAM, absolutely one of my top 12. That is number 2. Number 3, THEACRINE. THEACRINE is this compound that accumulates in a plant that normally is made for green tea. You take the plant and you make green tea, certain type of tea, kucha tea, Kucha tea from. But caffeine basically accumulates in the plant, right? And then there's a certain point at which the caffeine stops accumulating, and then it goes through this biochemical change where a methyl group, a methyl chemical group is added to the caffeine, and then that new byproduct, that new chemical outcome accumulates in the plant. It just sits there and accumulates. And the chemical name for the stuff that accumulates thereafter with the methyl group added to the caffeine is called THEACRINE. It's basically caffeine with a longer half-life, no anxiety when you take high doses of it, considerably more potent, and for me it's like a much more wakefulness promoting compound than just plain old caffeine. Very, very powerful. My dose range is 25 to 75 milligrams. The sort of average dose range is basically 25 to 200 milligrams. THEACRINE, that's my number 3. Number 4 would be Noopept nasal spray. Noopept nasal spray. Okay, we've got Noopept nasal spray, how to use it, the breakdown, because it's a very different comparison compared to oral Noopept, in the Smarter, Better, Faster book. This is why you got to get the book, because if you want elucidated the real details behind a lot of the nootropic strategies we talk about, particularly Noopept nasal spray, it's in the book. But Noopept is a drug synthesized in Russia. It's a cholinergic. It improves cholinergic signaling, increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor and nerve growth factor in the cerebral cortex and in the hippocampus, depending on acute or chronic use. Very powerful. Verbal fluency, working memory, focus. For some people, euphoria. For a lot of people, motivation. Powerful compound. Well, folks learned that they could put distilled water with Noopept in a nasal spray bottle, sprayed up their nose, and it was more bioavailable, more potent, required less of it. My dose range is about a spray of it. The dose range is 1 to 5 sprays. It is a very, very powerful nootropic compound. That's my number 4, Noopept nasal spray. Number 5, uridine monophosphate. Uridine monophosphate. Uridine converts to CDP-choline, improves neurite outgrowth, improves synaptogenesis, neurogenesis, dopamine receptor, acetylcholine receptor densities, powerfully motivating, powerful verbal fluency, powerful mental energy, powerful basically everything. It's by far, bar none, hands down, the most powerful natural nootropic there is, uridine monophosphate. That's my number 5. Dose range is 75 to 500 milligrams. I'm right around 150. Number 6, CDP-choline. CDP-choline improves people's brains after they have strokes, right? It increases dopamine and acetylcholine receptor densities, even in aging mice, whereas control groups in like this particular study I'm referring to's receptor densities for acetylcholine and dopamine decreased. Okay, it improves synaptogenesis, neurogenesis, bioenergetics in the prefrontal cortex. It is a very powerful standalone nootropic compound. Dose range 75 to 200 milligrams, really 75 to 500, but I stick with 75 milligrams. Most folks are going to find their perfect sweet spot range within 75 to 200 milligrams. That is my number 6, I believe we're on, CDP-choline. Number 7, L-TYROSINE. Uridine's so powerful, I'm like, just say uridine every time. L-TYROSINE. L-TYROSINE is a precursor to dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. The thyroid gland also uses it to produce thyroid hormones. It's very energizing. Mental stimulation and mental alertness is really predominantly what tyrosine delivers, because it increases the neurotransmitters relating to that, epinephrine and norepinephrine particularly, but it's also motivating because it increases dopamine. Dose range is really 200 to 1,000 milligrams. Mine is 300 to 500 milligrams. That's my sweet spot on L-tyrosine. Very, very powerful compound. Number 8, COLURACETAM. COLURACETAM is a racetam nootropic. You take it in a lot smaller doses, 5 to 30 milligrams. You can take it sublingually in 5 milligram doses. It's very powerful. It increases choline uptake in neurons. The general effect that I get from COLURACETAM is it just gives me a very fluid brain. Things are just everything is just working better. I'm not sped up. I'm not hypey. I'm not any of that. Everything just works more fluidly. COLURACETAM. That is my number 8. Number 9. Modafinil. Modafinil is a wakefulness-promoting anti-narcoleptic drug. It is extremely powerful. It gets the brain to use more dopamine, more epinephrine, more norepinephrine, releases serotonin in certain regions of the brain, inhibits GABA in other regions of the brain. It's wakefulness-promoting. You take modafinil, you haven't slept well, your brain's not functioning well, all your troubles are gone. It's the type of nootropic to take if you really want to get good productivity for the ensuing 9 hours, if you've got something to do that you haven't started. The dose range on modafinil is really 25 on the very low end to 200 milligrams on the high end. My sweet spot's just about 75 milligrams. So that is my number 9, modafinil. Number 10, caffeine. caffeine is still has to be up there in everybody's top like 10 or whatever. Caffeine is still an incredible compound. It's just that folks see it as such a regular thing because it's so widely available, so massively utilized by people everywhere in the world. But it's the number one nootropic there is. It's the number one drug. Caffeine works by modulating adenosine receptors, tricking the brain into thinking that it isn't tired and therefore promoting wakefulness. The best usage of caffeine, everybody really knows the dose range, 100 to 300 milligrams. But for me, really in terms of nootropic benefits, keeping the brain awake, especially when there's a sleep deficit or there's something going on where you really need good brain function, is espresso shots. It's going to a good coffee shop and getting a couple espresso shots, high caffeine milligram quantity, you know, a good cup of 2 espresso shots, a little bit of half and half, and just throw it down. I rely on caffeine. I mean, like many people, I rely on it. I love it. I love the wakefulness. I'm a coffee addict. I love the stuff. Iced coffee in the morning, you know, maybe a shot or 2 of espresso later in the afternoon, maybe a small iced coffee later. I love it. I would drink it before bed if it didn't keep me. I'd drink it all day if it didn't keep me up, you know, or mess with my sleep, or like, you know, eventually start to increase heart rate at an unmanageable level. I would just drink it all day. Java is good. So that's my number 10, caffeine. Number 11 is ALCAR. Acetyl L-carnitine is this derivative of the amino acid L-carnitine, which combines L-carnitine, with acetic acid so it can cross into the brain a lot easier. It improves fatty acid usage for brain cell mitochondria, which is a good thing to do short term. It's a good thing to do kind of acutely, not great for doing long term because then you decrease glucose utilization. That's a fact. But it is very powerfully energizing in that regard. It also donates part of itself to the production of acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, so it's focus inducing. But mostly it's mental energy, you know, and motivation as a result. For me, I take 300 to 500 milligrams of ALCAR and I'm pumped. I'm ready. Brain works good. Just give me some work. Let me go to town. I'm ready. Number 11 on my favorite top 12 list is ALCAR. Number 12. Number 12 is the amino acid L-theanine. L-theanine. L-theanine is the great balancer. It is the great equalizer. It's the nootropic to take if you want to balance out excessive stimulatory other nootropics, like perhaps modafinil or excess caffeine. It acts incredibly well with racetams, right? Because racetams are stimulatory, especially if you add caffeine in there. You can put some theanine in there to kind of tone down the stimulation and have a good synergistic calm. But the primary reason is because L-theanine increases brain serotonin and brain GABA. It also induces alpha brain waves. This is all, you know, aligned with calming down the brain. You know, putting it in a manageable state, relieving stress, toning down anxiety, allowing you to have more control over what's happening. The dose range on L-theanine is really 200 on the very low end to 1500 on the high end. I'll go with an entire, you know, 1.5 grams sometimes if I really need that extra tipping in the right direction in terms of anxiety. If my anxiety is cranked up a little too high, if something that I did, something that I took, something that I'm working on, like something in my life is just toning up anxiety, I'll go for a whole 1500 milligrams, but normally it's about 700 to 1000 milligrams of L-theanine as a standalone to tone down anxiety. And then with really stimulating nootropics like high-dose ANRACETAM and caffeine and maybe THEACRINE, or like if I go on the higher dose range of modafinil, I'll shoot for 500 or so milligrams of theanine to kind of tone that stuff out, to balance it out. You know, any otherwise very stimulatory nootropic experiment that I might embark on, like if I want to stack tyrosine with THEACRINE and ANRACETAM or something, just to sort of see what my dose ranges and what the effect is, and it's a little too stimulatory, you know, my sort of go-to combination, my go-to you know, theanine dose range is 500 to 1000 milligrams to sort of balance that stimulation out. That is my top 12. Now listen, there are many other very many effective nootropic compounds out there, but I mean, these are the best. I've been taking nootropics for a long time. I've distilled a lot of knowledge into these videos, you know, into this particular video, and I don't see it changing over the course, you know, over the course of the next 5-10 years in the foreseeable future, unless I come across new nootropic compounds that are really incredible. And sure, there's a possibility for that. Well, there's absolutely a possibility for that. But I gotta say, man, tried and true, time tested, those are my top 12. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, Ryan here. Thanks for watching. But if you want to take your brain game to the next level, you want to increase your focus, your verbal fluency, your mental energy, your ability to sit down and crank out work for hours at a time, secure a bottle of the Cortex Nootropics stack. Our customers are clear. This is the best pre-made stack on the planet. And hey, speaking of stacks, if you really want to take your nootropic stack game to the next level, secure the Smarter, Better, Faster book. This is a surgical guide to using nootropics for total mental dominance. You talk about stacks, we got stacks in there. Endless amounts of stacks, power stacks, verbal fluency stacks, working memory stacks. We've got modafinil strategies and everything else you can think of to include a whole sector on nootropics questions answered. Smarter, Better, Faster, the most powerful nootropics guide on the planet. livecortex.com. That's livecortex.com. We'll see you over there.